you guys? It's your girl Taylor. Very long time no see. That's my bad. I am back. If you didn't know, this past year I actually applied to med school and got accepted. So I'm going to start medical school this summer, which I'm really excited about. And since I'm going to be moving away from home again, I really just want to take this time to document this journey. I'm so excited to begin my pathway as a physician and getting to do what I love to do so much. So with that, I'm revamping my YouTube channel. I'm coming back to share all of my experiences about being a medical student and life as someone who is going to be a physician. So with that being said, of course, the first step to going to med school is the application process. And so today, I'm going to give you all the tea on how much money it actually costs me to apply to medical school. And by the way, it's a lot of money. So I'm just going to hop right into this, kind of take it in sections. The very first thing to know is this whole process starts long before you actually submit your application. Really, the first big part of your application is probably going to be your MCAT. And so this is something that I actually took 2 years before I applied, and I'm really grateful that I did. So the MCAT itself cost me $330 to register and take. And then, of course, along with the MCAT comes a lot of prep work. So as far as MCAT prep went, I did not take a course or anything like that. I fully self-studied. But that being said, I did buy a set of Kaplan books for $180. I also bought a subscription to UWorld, which has a lot of really great practice questions, and that was $295.23. And then finally for my MCAT prep, I bought several practice exams from different companies, and that totaled to another $99. So my total cost just to prep and take the MCAT was $904.23. And then also before applying to actual schools, I used a resource that the AAMC has called MSAR. And this is just a database that has every medical school that you can apply to and all of the information about them. So information about their curriculum, their GPA, the MCAT, all of like the median scores that students that have been accepted there have. So for me, the MSAR cost $28, and this is ultimately the tool that I use to build my school list. And then while we're on the topic of tests, there's one other exam I had to take called the Casper exam. And so this is a test that not all medical schools require, so it'll just kind of depend on which schools you're applying to if you actually need to take this test or not. But this test cost me $85 to take and send to the 7 schools that require this test from me. Okay, so exams are out of the way. Now we can actually talk about the actual application. So for those of you who don't know, there's kind of 2 application processes, if you will. There's the primary application, which has all of the initial information that you send to medical schools. So like your statistics, your personal statement, your extracurriculars, things like that. And then there's also secondary applications, which schools will send to you after they receive your primary. And these are just additional essays that are very school specific. So talking about my AMCAS primary application. This application costs $170 just to kind of go through the application and send it to one school. And then each additional school you want to add on is another $43. So I applied to 26 schools total, which meant that my cost of my primary application was $1,245. Next thing to talk about is secondary application. These are things that most schools send pretty much anyone who applies their secondary. Some schools are more selective in that they will screen out students based on their primary application before sending a secondary. And this is also something that has a very variable cost, and schools set their own cost for their secondary application. So out of the 26 schools that I applied to, I submitted 23 secondaries. So there's actually 1 school who I didn't get a secondary from, and then 2 schools that I decided not to submit secondaries for. So out of the 23 secondaries I sent, actually 1 of them was free, which is very rare, but my state school did actually offer us to send in our secondaries with no cost, which is really nice. But for the other 22 secondaries, they ranged from $50 to $130 for my specific schools. I think there are some schools that even go up to like $200 for their secondary. The average cost of a secondary for me was $88, and then in total I spent $2,190.75 on my secondaries. And then the final process of medical school applications is, of course, the interview. Now, I was lucky enough that all of my interviews were virtual, which was really nice because I got to save money on travel costs, hotel, flights, things like that. And I also didn't have to take as much time off from work as if I had to actually go visit these schools in person. So really the only interview cost that I had was my interview attire. I honestly get all of my professional clothes thrifted. I know some people will go out and buy like a whole tailor-made suit. It's their first like real professional suit for these med school interviews, but I've done just fine with secondhand like Goodwill blazers, nice button-up shirts, things like that. And so I estimate that my interview attire only cost me about $15. Okay, so if we break out our calculator, this means that I spent $4,467 just to apply to medical school. So as you can see, this is a very expensive process. It's not only very vigorous as far as, the time dedication goes and the amount of mental strain it can take on a person, it's also quite expensive. And honestly, the expense of this is one reason why I wanted to take gap years. That way I could be working while I was going through this process, so I didn't just have to come up with, $4.5 grand out of nowhere. Thankfully, about the year before I started going through the application process, I was already saving money. So I just put a little bit of money from my paycheck into like a separate cash box that I had specifically for applications. And so I ended up saving about $1,300 before my application process started. And then everything else I paid for using the money I got from my job. And then unfortunately, there aren't many resources that help students kind of finance this part. The AAMC does have one resource called I think it's the Financial Assistance Program. I will link it below so that way you can check it out. But if you are low income and you make below a certain amount of money, then you can apply for this program and they will actually let you apply to a certain amount of schools for free, which can save you quite literally thousands of dollars. But yeah, now you know how much it cost me to apply to medical school. I plan over the next several months to make a lot of videos just talking about my application, the whole process of applying, and then when summer comes, I'm going to start documenting my experience as a medical student. So if you want to come along with me and follow my journey, please hit that subscribe button and like this video. Until next time, peace!